Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our President's Training tonight. Hopefully, this will help you get your year started with, or get you ready to start your year, which of course begins July 1. Just real quickly, I'd like to go around the people who are here and just let you quickly introduce yourself and maybe, what club you're from, and if there's any tidbit you want to share with us, we can go ahead. So I'm going to start with our Vice District Governor-elect, first Vice District Governor-elect Marty. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm from the Stewartstown Club, and as Dennis said, I'm first Vice District Governor-elect, and I'm just here kind of just as a supportive and to thank you all for everything you're doing, and especially stepping up to be a leadership position, because that's very helpful. Because without leaders, clubs have difficulties. So again, we're here to support you and help you in any way we can. So thank you for being here, and thank you for all you do.
Okay, thank you. I'm just gonna go down my list here. Lion Ed, could you introduce yourself?
Ed Prosser from York Springs.
Okay. Anything else you want to share?
I was a lion over in Lancaster County for about 10 years. And then my wife and I joined York Springs in January 2020.
Okay. And I can speak from personal experience. They've been doing a great job of helping out and contributing to their club. Lion Bill, how about you? Introduce yourself. Bill, you're muted. You don't have to unmute yourself. Lion Bill, are you there? All right, let's go on. Lion Chris.
I'm Chris Lavelsberger. I'm from the Upper Adams Lions Club. This will be, I'm going to be president this upcoming year. So this is a very new experience for me. And I'm very grateful for the team that has been before me. They're very helpful. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yes, you have some good mentors up there. And
yes.
Seen some good presidents that have come right before you. So you do have some good examples to follow.
Oh.
Lion Patty.
Hi, Patty Wurzbacher, New Freedom Lions. I'm the district cabinet secretary. I'm also secretary for our club for the last, I think, 4 years. Plus, I've been first vice president for 2 years, and I will be president next year. And I'm thankful for PGG Carey Ignite. So I've got a good guy in our group too. So he volunteered me, sort of, that I could be president. Let's put it that way. You'll be really good at it, is what he said. So I hope I can fulfill what Carrie thinks I can do.
Some of you others might be in the same situation that New Freedom is, where you've gone to officers serving 2-year terms as opposed to 1-year term. And that does seem to be a bit of a trend among some of the clubs. And yeah, if it works, that's great. Lion Bruce.
Good evening. I'm Bruce Miller, and I'm with the Brogue Club. And the Brogue Club is also the home club of our new district governor, Lion Keith Choate. And so this will be my second time being president of the club. And the other time was probably 10 years ago. And so I've been in the club about 20 years, I guess. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I can upgrade the programming a little bit so that over the years the quality of our program has slipped, and that's going to be one of my goals, to see if we can do a better job of making our programs more interesting. So
Okay.
Thank you for doing this seminar. I appreciate it.
Sure. Glad to offer it. And you will be understanding if you don't see District Governor-elect Keith at all of your meetings this year, correct?
No, we're gonna send the tail twister after him.
Send the tail twister after him. Wow. Lion Mike Jackman.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Mike Jackman. I'm with the Gettysburg Lions Club. I have been president before, but without training, so I'm looking forward to the training tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mike. And that does remind me, how many others have been president of their club before? Okay. All right, very good. All right, let's see. Lion Dave.
Dave Reed from the Jefferson Community Lions Club in Southern New York County. This is my fourth term, fourth time as president. Been with the club for over 35 years. And thanks for putting this together. This is a great way to handle it. We can sit at home and take the training. I think previous sessions have always been at a weekend retreat, or I don't remember doing it this way. I laud the opportunity to do a Zoom meeting. It's great. Thanks.
Good. Very good. Lion Joe.
Yeah, Joe Shanbrow, and I'm in Stewartstown Lions Club, and I'm currently a VP.
Okay. Currently VP and moving into president next year?
Year after, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. And Lion Bill, are you back with us?
I don't know. Bill said he was driving. I'm not sure if he's, in a dead cell.
Oh,
He's-
okay.
He's also from the Stewartstown Lions Club. He will be president next year. He was president, similar to some of the other Lions, about 10, 15 years ago. So he's kind of coming back, and I think he's looking forward to getting the training and the updates and things like that. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Marty. And thank you all again for taking time to tune into this evening. We do have quite a bit of material to cover, and I will try to do that as efficiently as possible, but I don't want you to hesitate to ask questions as they come up in your mind. This is to give you the information that you need, and so I want you to come away satisfied that you've gotten a lot of information. I'm going to switch over now to a PowerPoint, and so that you can see, and I will be sending this to you in afterwards. So everything that you see on the slides, you don't need to write down, but you can make other notes as you want. But everything that's on here you'll be getting. And I will be sending you a number of other handouts, well, what would be handouts, attachments, when I send follow-up email, because I'm going to reference a number of resources for you. So let's go ahead and get started through the PowerPoint, and that's my reminder to start the recording, which we've already done. So a lot of the information that I'm going to be sharing with you today is basically from my experience as a club president and in other leadership roles. It also has taken some things from training that is available online through LCI and also the USA Canada Forum Lions Leadership website. So a number of resources pulling together to give you a better understanding of your role as the president. And specifically, as you can see here, we want to give you a little bit of background on how leaders lead, what your duties are going to be as the president, and also if you're a vice president, what that is, and what the role of the board of directors. So we're looking for you to understand not just your role, but how your role combines with the role of the other leadership positions in your club. I want you to be able to have the resources of how you can get ready for your year. You still have about a month and a half before you take, or 2.5 months before, 2 months, I guess, we're at the end of April, 2 months before you take over as president of your club. There's a lot of good things you can do now in these 2 months that will make it much easier for your year as you, when you get ready and start to officially be the president of your club. So what are some of those leadership expectations? We're going to go over that for the club president. And then, of course, where to find more resources and training and ideas if you feel you want that level of information. So that's kind of our agenda for tonight, and what I hope you come away from this training with a better understanding of. So let's start with looking at leadership. And these are just a few thoughts on my part about leadership in general. I think that one of your things that leadership includes is guidance in terms of keeping your club on course, getting stuff done, the things that the club needs to do, and maybe some new things. Getting members to follow through on the duties that they have either agreed to do or that you've assigned. That's an important part. You got to provide some guidance, maybe at different ways, depending on who has been assigned to those responsibilities. And in some regards, some of our clubs are still trying to kickstart after COVID, but I hope most of your clubs are through that now and are meeting regularly and following through on the service that they have done in the past. So, we're really all hoping, I think, that the worst part of COVID is behind us. Leadership also includes motivation. As I said, when you're trying to get people to do things, sometimes that motivation takes different forms. It might be, you might need to prod somebody a little bit, or maybe you can do it through encouragement. Other people may need an incentive of some kind or a reward. Some people enjoy competition. So part of your role as a leader is figuring out what motivates the people you're working with and what will get them to help engage and participate and contribute to your club. Problem solving is definitely a piece of the leadership role. Sometimes you have a little bit of time to reflect and think through that problem and come up with potential solutions and brainstorm and refine. Other times you're going to be, faced with something that needs to be addressed more immediately, and that really takes some skills. But always remember just to kind of take a breath, don't panic, and try to keep yourself calm, because if you get upset and if you get worked up, that's just going to follow through and feed into the problem probably more so and make it escalate, as opposed to keeping the situation calm or addressing it in a more rational, reasonable fashion. And then I think a big part of leadership is building consensus, so that everything isn't like a vote and you've got half your people thinking one way and half your people another way, and then so somebody comes away unhappy. If you can work and build consensus among your membership with the different things that you are discussing and trying to do, you try to make it as much a win for everybody, or at least that everybody who's involved feels comfortable and can be supportive of what's going on. So consensus building takes a little bit more time, a little bit more negotiation. Obviously, it requires some people to compromise somewhat, depending on what's going on. So that's definitely one of the things that you need to be able to do as a leader, is to try to build consensus. One of the ways that you can lead is by communicating a shared vision among the club members. We talked about vision and action planning a little bit at the district convention, but when I think about vision, I think about how you want your club to be perceived by your community. how will they see you? How will they describe you? Lions Club International has a vision statement, which is to be the global leader in community and humanitarian service. I don't know how that fits into the vision you have of your club. Do you see your club currently as the leader in your community in community and humanitarian service? Do you think your community sees your club that way? I think that's kind of an interesting question, but it certainly is an easy transfer of LCI's vision statement to a club vision statement. You know, does your club want to be that? Do they want to be the leader in service and in their community? Hopefully they do. So if you have that vision, then that's going to require action to make it happen. It doesn't just happen by itself, obviously. So you're going to be encouraging your members to reach club goals, personal goals, and I'm really hoping that all of you will take some time to set some goals for your club and share those with your club, what you would like to do. And I've mentioned earlier, building consensus, trying to get some buy-in from your club members toward some basic goals for the year, maybe a membership goal as to how many new members you want to bring in this year. Maybe a service goal of initiating a new signature service project that you can continue throughout the years. Or on the other hand, it could be just a one-time event that you would like to see the club engage in this year. Those kinds of club goals, as well as your own goals. Where would you like to have your club? I heard Lion Bruce say he wants to bring back some more meaningful programming to his club meetings and have, I assume, maybe on the line of speakers and that type of thing. Bruce, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, that's kind of a personal goal on his part to bring back to the club. So goal setting is important. Goals require you to think about, what actions are going to help me achieve that goal. And I encourage you to do that. We can certainly talk more about goal setting and at a later time, and I'd be happy to even do the same presentation I did at the convention for you folks if you wanted to have something like that. You lead by also by providing leadership opportunities for others, because it's really important for us to continue to develop leadership within our club at different levels, whether that's a very specific small assignment to leading a service project and organizing a service project or a fundraiser. Those kinds of leadership opportunities prepare your club members then to step into elected officer leadership positions of your club and build confidence that those people can do that when they see that, hey, well, maybe I can do this. I really believe that one of the things that is holding us back as an organization in our clubs is the leadership aspect. We have a lot of club members who are willing workers. They'll show up to do stuff, but they need to be told what to do. And if you don't have the leaders there to look ahead and get things ready and know what needs to be done in order for things to be successful, your club's going to struggle to keep moving forward and to grow. So we all have to learn those leadership skills. We all have to mentor the people who show that potential and the ability to take on those leadership roles, and encourage them to step up and do that. So that's exactly what I'm saying here, or the next one leads into that, attending and encouraging others to attend leadership training. There's lots of stuff that LCI offers online. Our district is trying to provide that for our officer training, through our officer training and other trainings, to help provide that aspect for the leaders in your club. The mentoring is a part of that, as I mentioned, and then making sure that every one of your club members feels valued, that they serve an important role or some function in their club. And whether that's the newest member of your club or the longest serving member of your club, It's great if they can have a role, even if that role involves sitting and collecting money at an event. Even if that role, if you have somebody who can't get out to meetings or do things, can you give them a role that maybe involves either some desk work or computer work, something that makes them feel like they are contributing to the club. If they are contributing, feel like they're contributing, they are going to stick with you, more likely to stick with you. So those are all important aspects of what you as the club president can do to lead your club and keep it moving forward, as well as setting an example. And we all know that when you set a good example, it helps others see that you're willing to do whatever you're asking others to do. When we think about building a consensus, there's some guidance here that I got from my father a number of years ago that I have found very useful. And he was always a proponent of consensus as opposed to conflict. And some ways that you can do that within your club is to kind of set some ground rules, so to speak, for your discussions at meetings, whether it's board meetings or your general club meetings. But encourage your members to be honest and candid in their discussions. But things that are discussed, especially if you're at a board meeting level, those discussions need to be confidential. People who are in the discussion need to have confidence that what they're saying there is going to be kept within that group and not shared outside the group, especially if it's a sensitive kind of issue. They should not be afraid to own their own views. They're entitled to an opinion that they have, and to express that opinion, in a way that's definitely respectful. And when they disagree, they can challenge, the opinion of somebody else, but they need to do so without being offensive. I call that kind of disagree without being disagreeable. I think we can do that, although we don't always see that modeled very well outside of Lions Club. I'd like to think in Lions Club we can do that and be respectful of each other. And then on the other hand, we have to be willing to be challenged without getting offended about something, and that's tough also sometimes, because when you're challenged, automatically your defenses go up. But you as a leader can model that ability to accept it, and through statements such as I respect what you're saying. I need to think about that a little bit before I make a decision or something like that. But you're going to put forth some ideas. Not everybody's going to agree with your ideas. I think you can rise above that and find ways where we'll always be looking for those areas. At what level do we agree on something, and can we move forward from there? So those are just my thoughts initially about leadership. Does anybody have any questions or comments on those aspects before we move on to the next part?
Dennis, I just want to interject. I think the point of giving everybody a role, engaging your members, I think is critical, because if you feel like you're part of doing something, I think that makes that connection. And I've often said to other people, when we look at our overall statistics the last 5 years, it's in many cases, it's not that we're not getting new members, but we're losing so many people. And obviously we can't prevent people from dying, but people leaving is often a sign that somehow they didn't feel connected or they didn't feel fulfilled. So again, I think your point or your advice, probably maybe from your father, give people, make them feel part of it, make them feel connected, I think goes a long way to invigorating and keeping the connection in your club, which is really the lifeline. So I'll be quiet. I'm going to put some duct tape on my mouth, so I'll be quiet now.
That'll kind of hurt with that mustache when it comes off. So I'm not sure I would. You don't need to do that for us. I think you make a great point there, though, as far as the when you're saying about our drops in membership, if we could even cut the number of drops, voluntary drops, in half, we would probably be showing a net membership growth in the district as opposed to net membership losses each year. So, keep that in mind. Member satisfaction is really, really important. Anybody else? Okay, well, then let's move on to the next section on the duties of the president. I think it's pretty clear that you, as president, you're going to be the chief executive officer of your club. And with that comes some pretty basic responsibilities that we associate with the role of the president of not just a Lions Club, but of any organization. So in that role, you obviously are going to be responsible to call the club meetings, decide when they're going to happen, when the board of director meetings, special meetings, and preside over those meetings as you are available to do so. You appoint committees and chairpersons, appoint committees, the chairpersons and members. Yeah, I'm not sure why I have members there, but we'll keep going. You're going to have a role in making sure that the elections are called and held. You're going to hopefully, and I strongly encourage us, attend cabinet meetings and zone meetings to represent your club at them. And then also at the zone meeting in particular to report what's going on with your club to your zone chair and to the other clubs who are attending the zone meeting. All right, those responsibilities are pretty much just a very broad swing at what's in the club constitution and bylaws. We're going to go into that in a little bit more depth as we go through. All right. As the chief executive officer, as you can see here, you do not have ultimate authority or say over what happens in the club. You are an elected official, not a dictator. So the club as a whole has a role in the decisions, obviously. Your authority, though, and the role that you serve comes from the club electing you to that office. It also comes from the Constitution and bylaws, both at the club level and the international level, and from your board of directors. So you are authorized by all these folks to serve an executive function, but you are not the absolute dictator of those of your club. It's not like do what you want and not have any accountability. You obviously have some accountability. As far as the vice presidents go, you are going to serve pretty much at the behest of the president. You'll be assigned some different duties to do or asked to do some of those things. Some of your clubs are more formal in the responsibilities of the vice president, as opposed to other clubs, which that may change from year to year. But your duties, it's very important for you to understand the president's role and duties, and to be an observer so that you understand that role when you move into it. You might be asked to oversee some committees and help the committee chairs set their goals and follow through on that, and then report on what those committees are doing. I think one of the things that's helpful is to develop job descriptions for the committees so that they know what they're doing. And that's something as vice president that you can kind of help foster along, help the committee chairs learn how to manage their meetings and act as a resource for those chairs. And you can serve as an ex officio member of assigned committees that the president assigns you to, and report on behalf of those committees at meetings. The board of directors has a role here also, and understanding the president needs to understand what they can and can't do. But the board is basically the management, or oversees the management of the executive officers. So the composition of the board of directors includes the club officers, but it also includes the lion tamer, tail twister, LCIF coordinator, safety officer, branch president, and other elected directors or chairpersons. Now, I'm going to guess that not all of your clubs have all of those people or assignments for the board, especially if you are in a smaller club. Am I correct to assume that? I'm gonna assume you're nodding your head yes. The lion, because I can't see everybody. I'm sorry. I know a lot of us have lion tamers and tail twisters because those have been traditional offices, but you can see that those are optional positions depending on the on your membership. They're not required positions in the club constitution and bylaws. The LCIF coordinator is the immediate past president unless you as president appoint somebody else to that position. It defaults to the immediate past president of your club. Safety officer is something that has, I think, been added relatively recently into the constitution and bylaws, but it's a nice position for somebody to have to make sure that wherever you're meeting and the events that you're holding, that they are done so in a safe way. Things are set up safely so to minimize the risk of anybody being hurt at an event. So that's something to consider. A branch president, most of our, well, all but one of our clubs, this does not affect any of our clubs except for one. That's probably the best way to say it. We have one club that is getting into establishing a club branch, but it is something that the district is trying to promote more so. A club branch is kind of like a subgroup within the larger club or attached to the larger club. They're not a big enough group to be a club on their own because you need 20 people to make a club to have an independent Lions Club, but you might have a smaller group of at least five people that you can, if you have a group of at least 5 people who maybe have a special interest or a special project that they would like to center around, 5 to 10 people maybe, you can form a club branch, which those folks would be members of your club, but they would kind of function mostly independently of your main club, or the involvement with your main club could be however you want that to be. But as far as Lions Club International is concerned, in their definition of a club branch, this group would have its own set of officers, basic president, secretary, treasurer, and function mostly independently of the club. The idea is that might be able to grow to a full club, but it also has some possibilities for membership growth for your club. Maybe your club wants to establish a lot of branches so that you build your membership, but each of these smaller groups feels like they are doing an independent service. If you want more information about that, we can certainly have a conversation about that and get you more information about what that might be. That generates an idea. The other elected directors, I know a lot of you have director positions for your clubs. 2-year directors that serve 2 years typically, and on a rotating basis. Some of them, are elected each year. So all of these positions are supposed to be elected offices, and we're going to talk about elections later in the program. When we talk about back here, the club officers at the top, the first one, the club officers are your president, immediate past president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, service chairperson, marketing chairperson, and membership chairperson. As you can see, I have them asterisked because, again, we know, hang on a second, I got to try to let somebody into the meeting here if I can find my cursor to let them do that. Okay, I think I'm going to have to back out here for a second. I wish I had a touch screen. The problem is I can't see my cursor because of the dark background there. Okay, give me just a second here to get back in. All right, so we're just letting in John.
Yes,
Hey, welcome.
howdy, sorry,
That's okay. Do you want to go introduce yourself real quickly to the group, and then I'll go back to the slideshow. Or
okay,
while I go back to the slideshow, you can go ahead.
all right. I'm John Eigeldinger and I'm with the Boiling Springs Club. I kind of inherited the presidency this past November and just got elected for next year. So sorry I'm late to the meeting, but I had another meeting that I just
That-
came out of, so.
That's not a problem. We appreciate you tuning in and appreciate your willingness to take on the responsibility with your club. So we were just talking about the board of directors and who makes up the board of directors. And the previous slide here was this is the composition of the board, and then we were detailing who the club officers are. So what I was saying here, the three positions at the bottom, again, I'm going to bet a lot of your clubs don't necessarily have a service chairperson or marketing chairperson. You're more likely to have a membership chairperson. But in your club constitution and bylaws, these are positions that are specified. Now, if you want to be in compliance with your constitution and bylaws to the letter, I think you can fill those roles by double dipping on some people's responsibilities. So perhaps your vice presidents could serve those, or two of your, maybe one of your vice presidents is one, depending how many vice presidents you have, and your immediate past president could fill one of those roles also if you wanted. So there are some ways to do that, especially in our smaller clubs. And I certainly appreciate the difficulties of this clubs with smaller membership and trying to cover all the roles that need to be fulfilled. All right. So the board of directors, as far as their duties, they should be the ones who take new business items and discuss those things that come up as new business items. They also should be determining the policies of your club. They definitely should be approving expenditures, and at the end of the year, arrange for the audit. You're best if you, at the beginning of the year, and you might make a note of this, to put it on your first board meeting agenda to approve your financial institution where you have all your accounts, and also secure bonding for your club treasurer. I think most of you probably already have this in place, whether it's two separate actual accounts, or if you have two ledgers, one for administrative and one for activity. But those monies need to be accounted for separately so that they are not commingled in one lump of money. That's very clear in our constitution and bylaws, that money that we bring in through our fundraising that we get from the public, if we're out soliciting money from the public with our fundraisers, or fundraisers that are open to the public, those monies need to stay separated and are accounted for separately and used only for service and going back to community. They can't be used to run our clubs or to go back like to offset dues or do something like that. That's not appropriate use of money that's collected from the public. The board of directors is supposed to make sure that that does not happen. That's their oversight of the club treasurer. Here's where your limited ability and what you can and can't do as president might be. They can overrule or rescind any actions that you take as president. So if you've overstepped your authority as president, they can say, no, we don't, you can't do that. And so that's the check and balance for there. All right. And then as a board of directors, they, when they make a decision, all of them should be on board to support that decision, even if in discussions they had some disagreements with it. Everybody, as far as a trust factor, should be able to move forward and support the decisions that the board of directors makes. To see it in kind of a visual format as to how your clubs are structured, and this again is according to the standard club constitution and bylaws. It looks like this organizational chart, and I'm going to include this as one of the things I send to you after the meeting tonight. So you can see all the positions that we just talked about. I want you to pay attention to what's circled in red, which is referred to as the Global Action Team. This is a concept that the International Association has set up that they do at all levels of Lions, from the international board down to constitutional levels, to the multiple district, to the district. And they hope that the clubs will adopt this as well, that your president, your vice president, or whoever's in charge of your leadership and your membership and service, that those folks will function together as a team and meet to strategize those initiatives in those three areas, whether it be leadership, developing leaders in your club, recruiting new members, or the services that your club is going to take on. Again, that can be a whole topic by itself that we could run a seminar on with the Global Action Team. And I know at the club level that has not taken off as much, and we have not spent a lot of time promoting that. But at the district level, we've been working at that. This concept came into being about 5 years ago. And as a district, we have adopted that, and we do meet regularly as a Global Action Team we meet actually on a monthly basis, and we work to promote those areas. These seminars are a result of that. And our global leadership coordinator at the district level is the one who makes arrangements to have these meetings take place. And our membership initiatives the same way, and the district service projects, they move those forward. So I think it's a valuable thing to do if implemented well. And it's something that when we talked about personal goals or goals for your club, maybe this is something that you would like to initiate as president. Again, if you want more information, just let me know. We can talk about that in detail, and LCI has materials available to help with that. All right. Moving through that pretty quickly. Any questions or comments with that? Pretty clear, pretty straightforward, I think, as far as those things. I don't think there are any big surprises there. All right, so let's move on and talk a little bit about planning for your upcoming year. All right. There's a number of things that you can do before your term begins that are really going to help you get your year off to a good start. I'm looking at my notes here and trying to remember what I had there. All right, we'll go through. All right, one of the things that you should think about is think through the members of your club, and each member individually. Think about what you think motivates them to do stuff and to engage with the club. What do they get out of being a member of the club? What are their needs? Some people are in it for the socialization. So that's an important piece for you to remember. Some of it are in it because for the service aspect. Some of it are in it for the fundraising. I mean, they get a kick out of raising money and finding ways to raise money, take great pride in the fundraisers. So if you understand their motivations and needs, and when I say needs, some people need more attaboys than others. Some people need the recognition. Some people, want to receive that certificate or something like that. Knowing what those members need and what motivates them will help you to better assign them to duties. So keep that in mind and think about it. I think this is a really good resource, the club president's ebook, and there are ebooks for everybody, or most of your club officers. And what's really nice about these ebooks is that obviously are available online, and I'm actually going to send this to you. But within that ebook are links to so many different resources that are available, so that instead of you trying to do a Google search to find something, whatever, if you familiarize yourself with this this handbook, you can use it as a great reference tool and look at the table of contents, and then go to that section and you can find links to the resources. The LCI website is sometimes difficult to navigate and find things, so this can be a really good resource for you to find information that you're looking for. We're kind of late in the year. If you will be a vice president this year, moving into the presidency in July of 2023, I'm really going to encourage you to start going to district events and district and even the multiple district events. So conventions, the council meetings, those kinds of things. Really familiarize yourself with things that are going on outside of your club. Zone meetings are a great place to get started with that. But the better awareness you have of Lions beyond your club, the more you're going to have access to new ideas and things that you just might not come across in your own club. So new service projects, new ideas for fundraisers, new ways of doing things, speakers for your club, activities for your tail twister, all those kinds of things you get a better understanding of and more access to if you reach out beyond your own club. And then, of course, you're already participating in club officer training, and I hope you encourage the other officers in your club to do the same. You should become familiar, especially with the club constitution and bylaws. Again, I will send this to you, but I probably will not send it to you until well, I might send this one, the current one to you, but this is updated every year. But it's not updated until after the International Convention, which is at the end of June. So sometime in early July, the LCI will come out with the updated Constitution and bylaws, and I will do my best to remember to find that and send that to each of you so that you have the up-to-date copy of that. Right? But start looking at that, and to me, that's a kind of document that's a foundational document. Instead of counting on somebody in your club to say, oh yeah, that's the way it needs to be done, you'll go to the Constitution and bylaws and you'll find out, well, maybe that's not the way it's supposed to be done. Or you'll find different things from what people think they know. So I encourage you to become familiar with that. Now is the time to start. Most of your clubs have probably had their elections, so it's time for you to make sure that you have permission from your club president to start organizing. You know who your officer team is going to be, so you can schedule some meetings between now and one or more meetings between now and July 1st to come up with some plans for your club. We talked about setting goals for the club. Put your ideas down, what you think is reasonable to expect, and then share it with the other officers. See if they're on board with that, and then you can take it before the club and get their buy-in. You want to work on your committees. I know different clubs have different degrees of formalization with committee structures and that they have set up. So, but you'll want to know who's going to be in charge of each of your committees or your projects for the coming year. Make those assignments, and both the chair people and the members of those committees. Talk with at least one of your predecessors, either the immediate past president or one of the past presidents you respect, to get advice as you need. Build a relationship with them so you kind of have a go-to person, and then just do your best to be ready to hit the ground running on July the 1st. I think it's helpful to have a month by month to-do list. And if you can get that started for the person who follows you, they will be very grateful for it. I don't know if any of you have been handed anything like that. I'm going to do my best to put together at least a starting point for you and get it to you by July 1st, so that it gives you a list of some things that that all club presidents at least are able to do. And then you can add things that are specific to your club, but it'll at least maybe give you a starting point. I find these things to be very helpful. So at the beginning of the month, you can look at that and say, okay, I need to get this done this month anyways, excuse me. We're going to look at some templates for meeting agendas. Create your own template, and then you can just kind of use that from meeting to meeting as a guide, and adjust it as you need to for each meeting, the specifics of each meeting. I think it's very helpful to create a calendar of events, lay out your meeting dates, know that what your dates are for the whole year, you know, when your have your projects, your ongoing service projects. These are your what they call the your signature service projects, the ones that you do every year. You know you're going to do that. You know you're going to hand out fruit baskets at Christmas. You know you're going to do a road cleanup. Try to get those dates out now and on a calendar so that your members can then put them on the calendar when you hand this out. When your fundraisers are, you know that you're going to have chicken barbecues 3 times, and when those usually occur. Try to get those dates on a master list, and then you're able to communicate that at your first club meeting of the new year. Hand that out to your members, and then they know it. And you can also include that if you put out a newsletter. You can have that at the back of the newsletter, so they always have that as a reference, and you can update it as necessary for new things that come up. In regard to that, I do want to ask you, and please jot this down, the district convention next year in 2023 will be on April the 15th, Saturday, April 15th. I'm going to ask you to do your best not to schedule anything for that date as far as a club activity, so that you and your other officers and other members of your club are available to attend the district convention. That's just a request on my part. We talked about setting goals and developing action plans. I think that's, again, if you have a goal in mind and you have sort of set up a plan of how we're going to achieve that goal, it can keep you on track. All right, questions or comments in regard to the planning, getting ready for next year? Anybody? Okay, we'll keep moving through. I'm doing my best to get through all this till by 8:30. So let's go on to some expectations for leadership. Yep, that's my reminder that I've got a half an hour. All right, the expectations of the club here, a couple things that we're going to be talking about in this section. How to conduct your meetings, managing your committees, conducting your officer elections, and communicating both within your club and outside of the club. All right, those are kind of the 4 main topics in this section on the leadership expectations. So let's talk first about your club meetings. You as president are responsible to decide when the meetings are going to be held and issue the call for those meetings, whether it be for your regular club meetings, your board meetings, a special meeting, which you can call a special meeting if something comes up, or under the Constitution and bylaws, if a number of people come together, they can call that too. I'll let you read that in the club constitution and bylaws. But if there's a need for a special meeting, please have an agenda for your meeting. Work with your secretary to prepare that agenda, but have an agenda for the meeting, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. You, of course, are expected to preside over the meeting unless, of course, you can't be there, in which case your vice president should be prepared to do that. Take a look at the minutes before they get distributed to the general membership for approval. Ask your secretary to share them with you first so that you can troubleshoot them and find anything that may or may not be what you remember to have happened. Save yourself some grief that way before they go out to the general membership. Let's talk about the agendas. Why have an agenda? Well, obviously, it's a blueprint for running an efficient meeting. You know, it helps you think through ahead of time what's going to happen at this meeting, what needs to happen at this meeting. It makes sure that you are productive and orderly in your meeting. It keeps you on track. All right. It also helps your members, keeps your members informed. If you send out that agenda prior to the meeting, they know what's going to be happening. And especially people like your committee chairs or something like that, they know that they're going to be expected to report on something that's coming up, and they're not caught flat-footed at the meeting and struggling to know what they're supposed to be reporting on. They have the information there, and it helps assure that issues aren't overlooked. Again, thinking about that, you as the president, you kind of need to be a couple steps ahead of the rest of the membership and thinking about what's coming next, not what's happening now, but what's happening next, and making sure things are in place for that. As I said, you work with your secretary, your vice president, and committee chairs when putting the agenda together, or at least be thinking about that, communicating with them, particularly your secretary. Your secretary can be a very, or in most clubs, your secretary is the one who has the continuity from year to year because they serve multiple years. So work with your secretary with that agenda, and they can help you refine that and be ready to go. Look at the last meeting minutes to make sure that you're not overlooking something that was discussed or brought up at the last meeting that needs to be revisited at this meeting. This is just a personal thing for me, but I like to do a more detailed version for myself of the agenda. So I will put reminders and bullet points in for myself as to what I want to say or things I want to bring up. I will do that, and I will save that copy for myself, and then I will make another electronic copy and take out all the superfluous stuff, the stuff that's just for me, and kind of do a trimmed down version to distribute to the club members. Again, that's just me, but I find it to be helpful, and it keeps me on track. You could do the same thing by just printing out the basic version and writing your notes in the margin. That's probably just as easy a way. So send the basic version out ahead of time so people have it, and then have a few copies at the meeting for people who may not have printers. But ask your folks to print them out. You don't need to incur any more expense than what you need to. But depending on how your club's set up, maybe the secretary is responsible for printing those out. If you send the secretary and having them at the meeting. Number of ways to do that. I have two samples here of agendas. And again, this will just give you insight into how I do it. But I think when you're going to have a program and a guest speaker at a meeting, I think there's one way to prepare the agenda. And if your meeting is just going to be more or less a business meeting with your club, I think that's a different agenda. But for the program meeting, obviously you want to call it to order. If you do an opening exercise in your club, whatever your tradition is, you want to have that. And make sure your guests at the meeting are introduced. You may or may not have a meal. Then if you do have a meal, your program is probably going to follow the meal. You do want to have brief reports from your secretary and treasurer. Ideally, those reports will have been sent out ahead of time so that people can review, especially the minutes of the last meeting. The treasurer's report ideally is in written format so that people have it to look at. They don't just have to recall numbers or jot them down real quickly. I know that helps the secretary to have a written treasurer's report and not have to remember. And then any announcements that need to be made for maybe like upcoming activities or something like that. And then be done. You don't, you know, you don't want your speakers or something like that or guests to have to sit through a long business meeting of the club. That's a different time, a different place. If there are action or items that need to be addressed by the board of directors, you can have that board meeting after your adjournment and then do that as almost a separate meeting afterwards and excuse your guests, excuse the other members of the club, and then have your board of directors speak. Now, I also appreciate, again, smaller clubs, most of the club, if not all of the club members are on the board of directors. So it's kind of like the same thing. And I know that happens, but at least let your guests get out and out. And if this is the kind of meeting that you might want to bring prospective members into, and you don't want a prospective member to sit through a contentious, if some issue comes up even unexpectedly at a board meeting, and they don't need to sit and listen to you hash out the details of your next chicken barbecue. Let them get out of the room and then do your business in the board meeting later. Ideally, though, we've got this Zoom technology now, that kind of thing. Save it. Have a call board meeting on Zoom, so people don't have to leave their home, and you can get done in a half an hour board meeting, later in the week or something like that. Now, if you don't have a program and it's just a regular business meeting of the board, but it's regular meeting night, then you can do a little bit differently. Of course, same at the beginning here, but then after the meal, maybe you just have your president and vice presidents who make remarks and your reports. And now you can have some reports from your chair people of your coordinators. Again, this is an agenda format of potential for the board meeting itself. So I know how different clubs do. Some clubs do like to have their board meeting the same night as the regular club meeting, so that they're only out once. They don't have to come out to 2 meetings. As I said, though, we've got Zoom technology now, so people don't have to leave their house to go to a board meeting. So it's not necessarily another night out to schedule and do the business stuff outside the club meeting. And your board meetings don't need to be as formal with like the opening exercises and things like that. You can just go through your business. So you want to go through the old or unfinished business, your new business, and then you can adjourn the meeting. So those are two general layouts. This is an agenda. Last year I was president of my club, so this was an agenda for one of my meetings, and it was more of the board meeting, business meeting for the club. So you can see here that we did hold our election at this meeting, and then we went into our reports. I divided the agenda like the service projects and the fundraising projects. And so I detailed which service projects we needed to be reported on, which fundraising projects needed to be reported on. We had a couple of items of old business. We had some new business that needed to be taken care of. And then I did have some announcement here, some announcements included on this one before we did our adjournment. So that's just a sample. At your meetings, you definitely want to try to follow basic parliamentary procedure, right? And parliamentary procedure is simply, rules that are kind of generally accepted. The call to order, motion, debate, voting. You can either table the motion, you can rescind have it rescinded, reconsider. All those kinds of things are part of generally followed practice, which are in Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of Order is a pretty involved document, so there are some very brief overviews of those, and I think I downloaded one that I will send to you with that. One suggestion I have for you is to develop, buy a little 3-ring binder, and in it, keep your agendas for the meeting, minutes of the previous meeting, kind of just build this up so that you have it. It's kind of a little reference binder. So you're going to have your officers and your committee lists in there, your calendar of events, the Constitution and bylaws. So you have that there to refer to if you need it, along with any club policies that your club may have developed. One idea that I heard that I kind of liked, but I have not followed up on, is to keep a running list, and this would be as part of your secretary's responsibility, to keep a running list of motions that were made and approved. So basically a list of action items that your board of directors have approved. And if you keep that running list, you always have that to refer to when you say, oh, 2 years ago, we talked about this or that, and I thought we decided this or that. You can go back and you can check it pretty easily without having to go through all the minutes. You can just go back through your action items. And then this is that basic Robert's Rules of Order that I think I download and I'll send to you. You can also, you as president will get a printed copy of the District 14C directory. And that's a good little reference book to have. Mine is right here. Most of you have seen this before, but the directory, it'll look very similar to that. Maybe not the same color. We change the color each year, but you will get one of those, and it has the basic information for the district in it, who the officers are, all the clubs and contacts for all the clubs. A wealth of information, right? Vice District Governor Marty? There you go. All right.
We had,
Questions or comments on this aspect? Go ahead.
for the upcoming, for the vice president who's going to be president next year, what we did with our club was we picked a month after the new year and had the vice president run the meeting. That way you got used to the ideas somewhat of
Yeah.
everything. You got used to presentation. I got a basic format already on my computer saved. So it helped a lot in the process of getting ready. So it's a good suggestion for other clubs if they're interested.
I love that idea. That's perfect. And so again, good mentoring, good leadership development on the part of your current president to do that.
Right.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. John, are you trying to speak? I'm not, you're muted if you're trying to speak.
Unmute himself.
All right.
Okay, now it looks like you're unmuted. Go ahead, John.
Okay. Unless you're in a crisis state, how often is it recommended to have a board meeting?
I would say the general recommendation is to have one at least once a month, but it's not a requirement. In fact, according to the Constitution and bylaws, there's only 3 times a year that you're required to meet. And one is for nominations, one is for elections, and one is for a general annual meeting, like of your membership.
Okay.
Now, the board should definitely meet more often than that, and hopefully your club is meeting more often than that. But those are the only ones that are stipulated in the Constitution and bylaws. I would recommend at least once a month, so your board is taking care of business on a regular basis.
Okay. It's just, we're a small club right now, so it's basically
Yes.
the same people. I mean,
And as far as formal meetings, I know there are more clubs that are not meeting formally for like dinner meetings and stuff like that. They get together to do their service projects and to do their fundraisers. That's the meeting. Everything else happens, through communication between members to get things organized or whatever. They don't have sit-down meetings with the whole membership. So those are all things to discuss with your board and how you want to do that. or how they want to do that, what you recommend, what you would like to try.
Okay.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Dave.
What
Dave, you
is,
just muted yourself. There you go.
we used to meet twice a month. When COVID-19 hit, we moved it down to once and then even skipped it some months. I think twice a month is actually a good program. But what are some other thoughts about how often we should meet?
I'll tell you, I'm a relatively new Lion. So I'm living on past experience as a JC to kind of function here. And one of the things that our club does is it kind of shuts down around October through to January. I mean, we have a big project where we make Christmas wreaths. So everybody's in a garage, cutting and pasting and sticking things into a straw wreath. So they were an informal meeting at that point, but I'm thinking this year, and then in the summertime, it might go back to once a month, but I'm feeling like we should stick to the schedule of twice a month that we do. Because we have a lot going on, and there's a lot to talk about to get ready for the things that we're doing. I mean, do any of you guys the kind of ebb and flow with the meetings in your clubs? Or do you stick to that twice a month or?
Since I've started, I think it's been 3 years now. Our club only meets once a month, and it's never really meant more than that. I mean, we might have a meeting if something urgent is going on, but it's always been that. So I'm not familiar with twice a month, but it seems to work well for us.
Okay.
That, I know for Chris's club there, they did meet for twice a month for up until about 4 years ago. So it was just a little bit before Chris came into the club that they went from 2 meetings to 1 meeting a month. And it has seemed to work out pretty well for them.
Okay. But you're meeting every month. You're not kind of like shutting down with a formal meeting at any point in the year.
I think we drop off a little bit for the summer.
Okay.
We actually take a little bit of a break in the summer. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I'm sorry, I can't share those details. But
What the Brogue Club has been doing is we meet twice a month. One meeting is educational with a program, and the other meeting is a project planning business kind of meeting. So the one meeting is the place where we can invite guests to come and they can see the kinds of activities that the Lions do. And the other meeting is just planning for the events and just running the business of the Lions Club.
Okay.
Yeah, what the York Springs Club's been doing is 2 meetings a month. We take off the months of July and August. And then December, we just have one meeting, which is our Christmas social.
Okay.
I think you can hear a lot of variation there, and that's good. Your clubs need to schedule your meetings based on the needs of your club, the activities of your club, what's going to work for you. So be open to the new ideas, be willing to bring up some new ideas. I know change is hard for a lot of clubs, and I know that was the case when Chris said about their 1 meeting. When they transitioned from 2 meetings to 1 meeting, it was a little rough to get started, but now that they're into it, you get past it and make it work. So there's a number of different reasons for doing that, but always evaluate what's the effectiveness of what we're doing. Why are we meeting twice a month? Do we need to, or do we need to meet more often? Those are all good questions. All right.
Yeah, I would just like to add quickly, I mean, I think the meetings, if it works for you, as you were saying, if it works for your club, then that makes sense, because I think the worst thing, and I think we've all experienced it, of going to a meeting when there really wasn't any need to have a meeting, and that can be extremely counterproductive and problematic. So again, different flexibilities, I think by activities, by things that need to be planned for, sometimes there's some flexibility, some variation there. But again, if it works for your club and you're, prospering and doing well, then that makes sense.
And I would say too, in relation to that, if your membership is dropping, at least can think about what's happening at your meetings. Is that contributing to your membership decline? Is what you're doing as far as club meetings a hindrance or an asset to building your club's membership? You've got to think about those aspects. All right, I still have quite a number of slides to go through, so I'm going to blow through stuff really quickly here because we're only at about 10 minutes left to go. All right, so just in terms of committees, I just wanted to make you aware that you're responsible for appointing them and the chair people. These are just I'm just going through real quickly here to hit the highlights, but it does bring some new energy, and it is your place to develop leadership skills among them. They should be meeting regularly and keeping you in the loop, but you have to kind of sometimes push and make sure that they are keeping after. They just need somebody to prod them a little bit, as we talked about a little bit earlier. And this will all be in the slides when I send them out to you. There are standing committees. We talked briefly about this Global Action Committee that's in the Constitution and bylaws. These other committees should be part of, or according to the Constitution and bylaws, you're doing these things. I know many clubs are not real active. I mean, they don't have strong functioning committees in this way because they don't have the membership to support them. All right. But then you have other ones that are just club specific. So what your service projects are, I put examples from my club on here, but these are just for my club, and these are our fundraisers and these are our administrative things. So those are just examples there. And then there might be special committees that just for one-time events like a zone social or something like that, or an anniversary party, or maybe your club decides they want to do some kind of a special social outing, special service project based on a need in your community. I did have what was the one there? Nominating committee. That is one that does have to be done every year, but it's a special function. I also wanted to briefly address the officer elections because you are responsible for making sure that the elections occur and are followed, that they follow the timelines that are set there. So you are kind of like, you need to either oversee it yourself or delegate that responsibility to somebody in your club. Just make sure that you're meeting all the deadlines. All that's laid out in your constitution and bylaws, but it starts by appointing a nominating committee, and their responsibility is to find candidates for each office. They're supposed to report those nominees at a meeting in March, and your members should have at least 14 days notice prior to that meeting, so they know that the candidates for office are going to be presented at this meeting. And that will be the only time that they can nominate other people at that for the office. All right. So they report on the slate of candidates, and additional nominations can be made from the floor. But at that meeting, that's when the slate of candidates will be finalized, and the nominations will be closed at that point. Then you're ready for the election, which is to be held in April. And again, your members should have 14 days at least notice of that meeting, that the elections are going to occur at that meeting. And the notice should include all the nominees who were approved at the meeting. No additional nominations at the election. The election is simply voting for those candidates, either yes or no for each candidate. And there are formats. A format for a ballot in the Constitution and bylaws. You're supposed to do a written ballot and a secret vote. That is supposed to be the way it's done. That way you can document exactly what the counts were, and in case anybody would decide to contest that. All those details are in the Constitution and bylaws. Communication, all kinds of forms of communication, with your members. Your club set up different ways, but keep the communications flowing, right? I'm sorry to rush through this so quickly. You want to make sure that you get all your, I'm sorry, I went through that too quickly. Make sure that you get all your club activities out there, your minutes, when other things going outside of the district are happening. Outside of your district, people who communicate outside, make sure you know who's going to do those communications. You can delegate that different responsibilities, but make sure that you keep informed of communications that go on with other organizations or things like that, or responses that your secretary might send to requests for help, that kind of thing. Just keep up to date, make sure that you're informed. If you have the luxury of a marketing communications committee and a chairperson, utilize that to the best ability, but try to keep your club's visibility out there and be a presence in your community. Last section on resources. There's a lot of things on the Lions Club International website, which is lionsclubs.org. This is kind of the path that you need to follow to get there. This is their website, the homepage for the website. You can see that what I just highlighted there, this is the resources. When you go to when you click on that resources, it brings up this, and there's a resource center. You click on resource center, and then it's going to bring up a page here that has all resources. And on the left-hand side, you can see by category is club administration. If you go to club administration, you're going to find 49 different resources, or at least when I made this slide, there were 49 different resources just for club administration. So you can browse those at your convenience and find things that may be of use to you. So that's the Lions website, their resource center. Lions also has what's called My Lion, which is another thing that every Lion has access to, but it does require you to set up a My Lion account. Again, you start at the home page, you look for the member login up at the top, and when you do that, this page will come up, except that if you have not set up an account, you're going to have to go and register first, and you're going to need some information to do that. But once you're there, once you're in that, then you just have to fill in your information, or fill in your login information. And when you sign in, this is the homepage. The member portal will come up. It has a number of different things here. We're going to talk about the My Lion, or My Lion is where you can do service reporting and that kind of thing. My LCI, you will have access to as a club president, and that's where all your membership information is contained. Your secretary uses that page all the time. We could set up a training just for you to become familiar with using this Lion portal. I wanted to call your attention to the Learn tab. On the Learn tab, when you click on that, it takes you to this area and the online training that's offered through Lions Club International. If you go to the Lions Learning Center, it will bring up this page, and there is a club president training online, as well as numerous other trainings. The club, you see here, it says Club President Learning Path. It involves several different online courses. They're not difficult, they're not real taxing, but they are very informative, and they will help prepare you. All right, so the content library goes there, and that when you go, let me go back there a second. Content library on that page, when you go to that, you will find then the different courses, the Club President Path, Vice District Governor. This is where they have LCI's training for officers and different things. All right. The third resource for you for additional training and support would be the USA Canada Lions Leadership Forum page. This is kind of a parallel to Lions. It's not Lions Club sponsored. It's its own organization, but it's for Lions and all about Lions. So for that, again, you have to go to their homepage. You have to establish an account and sign in. So there's the login. I'm sorry, I don't have the whole page here. The login. And then when you go to the login, it brings, once you are logged in, set up the account, there are bachelors. They have different levels here for training. You can earn a degree. If you want another degree to add to your, you can get a Lions University bachelor's degree. And if you get that, you can get a master's degree, and you can even get your doctorate in Lions learning. All right, so you can see what I just highlighted up there. Once you sign in, it greets you by name, so you know what it is. There's the bachelor's degree. These are all the courses. The top half of this, 101 through 110 are required courses, and then 121 through 131 are optional courses that you have to select 5 of them. You go through those 15 courses, and again, they're not real taxing, and you can do them at your own pace, however you want. You do that, you can earn a bachelor's degree for your for Lions University. So conflict resolution, that'll help you. You know, if you click on that, it'll give you a description of what's involved with that course, how long it is, that kind of thing. So all self-paced. Sorry to run through all that at the end, but I wanted to do that. 2 minutes overtime. I am sorry about that. But I am more than willing to hang on and entertain questions and comments, and for as long as you want to hang out and chat, I'm willing to hang on here and do that. I'm gonna see if I can get this to stop the screen share. I don't know if I can find it or not. Okay, there we go. Stop screen share. Okay. So I think we're back to, is everybody back to their regular grid and can see everybody now?
Yes.
All right. So that's what I have for you, folks.
So it was a good presentation. Excellent. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Any questions? Anything you want to talk about before we sign off?
When are you gonna send the presentation out? So we
I'll-
can get in on link on get into the links and establish. I know I have my Lion, but I'm not familiar with the Lions University.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll try to get that done tomorrow, but definitely no later than Sunday, you should have it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. I think it's a lot of information to go over in 90 minutes.
Yeah, I probably try to stuff too much into it, right? Okay, but all right, well, thank you all again, and I'm gonna stop the recording and wish you all a good night.
Good night and
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks for
Okay.
taking the time.
Thanks, Dennis.
You bet.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night and thank
Good night,
you.
everyone. Take care.